Welcome to Preeminent Test Prep. Today I'll be taking you through the Math No Calculator section of SAT Practice Test 5. I'll be showing you how to move efficiently through this section and how to recognize patterns on the SAT Math section to hopefully improve your score. Make sure to subscribe as we'll be releasing videos on every section of all 10 College Board released practice tests. Now, let's get started. Question 1. Which of the following is an equation of line L and the xy plane above? Well, we have line L on our graph and we see it intersects our y-axis at 1. So we know our y-intercept will be 1, so we can go ahead and write our plus 1 in our equation. Now we have to solve for our slope. Well, we see that if we go over 1, so if we run 1, we also go up 1. So our rise over our run is 1 over 1, which means our equation will be y equals x plus 1, which is choice D. Question 2. The circle above with center O has a circumference of 36. What is the length of minor arc AC? Well, we see minor arc AC is here, and we know we have a 90-degree angle. So we know our 90-degree angle divided by our total 360-degree angle of our whole circle is 1/4. So if our angle is 1/4 of our total angle of our circle, we know our circumference of 36 times 1/4 will give us our arc length, AC, which will be 36 over 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9, so we know our answer is A. Question 3. What are the solutions of the quadratic equation 4x squared minus 8x minus 12? When you see an equation like this, what you want to look for is what can be factored out. So if I see I have a 4, a negative 8, and a negative 12, I know that 4 goes into 4, negative 8, and negative 12, so I can take 4 out and write the equation as 4 times x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. So now I can take my equation x squared minus 2x minus 3, and I can simplify it more to find the solutions. So I see that I have negative 3, so I'm looking for factors of negative 3 that add to negative 2. Well, factors of negative 3 that add to negative 2 are going to be negative 3 and then positive 1, because negative 3 times 1 gets us negative 3, and negative 3 plus 1 gets us negative 2. So now I know that I'll have x minus 3 times x plus 1, and then from there I just solve for x. So I can set my x minus 3 equals 0, add 3 to each side, and get that x equals 3. Or when I see x minus 3, I can just go ahead and know that it's just going to make x equal to 3. So if you can memorize that, that'll save you time. And then if I see x plus 1, then I know that x will have to equal negative 1. So my answers will be x equals 3 and x equals negative 1. And we go back up, we see which answer choice matches that. We have x equals 3 on B and on D, so we can go ahead and get rid of A and C. And then we have x equals negative 1 on B, so our answer will be B. Question 4. Which of the following is an example of a function whose graph in the xy plane has no x-intercepts? So we're looking for an equation that doesn't cross our x-axis. Alright, choice A, a linear function whose rate of change is not 0. Well, that doesn't work, because if we look, if we have a linear function whose rate of change isn't 0, so we'll call it 1, we will cross our x-intercept. So we can go ahead and get rid of A. If we look at B, a quadratic function with real zeros, well, real zeros means that it does cross our x-axis, so we can go ahead and get rid of B. If we look at C, a quadratic function with no real zeros, well, a quadratic function with no real zeros means that it doesn't cross our x-axis, which means we have no x-intercepts, so C will be our answer. Question 5. In the equation above, k is a constant. If x equals 9, what is the value of k? Alright, so we're going to have k plus 2 minus x, and we know x is 9, so we can go ahead and write minus 9 equals 0. So we're going to add 9 to each side, so that way we can square what we have under our square root. 0 plus 9 gives us 9. We have 9 equals the square root of k plus 2. We go ahead and we square each side to get rid of our square root. 9 squared is 81. So we're left with k plus 2 equals 81. We subtract 2 from each side to isolate k. 81 minus 2 gives us 79. and we have k equals 79, which is D. Question 6. Which of the following is equivalent to the sum of the expression a squared minus 1 and a plus 1? Well, all we're going to do here is we're going to add our a squared, and then we have plus our a right here, and then we have our minus 1 right here, and then plus 1. Well, minus 1 plus 1 equals 0, so they'll just cancel each other out, and we're left with a squared plus a, which is a. The answer choice, A. Question 7. Jackie has 2 summer jobs. She works as a tutor, which pays $12 per hour, and she works as a lifeguard, which pays $9.50 per hour. She can work no more than 20 hours per week. Okay, so we know our x plus y has to be less than or equal to 20 because she can work no more than 20 hours per week. Now it says, but she wants to earn at least $220 per week. So we know that she wants to earn greater than $220 per week. Which of the following systems of inequalities represents this situation in terms of x and y, where x is the number of hours she tutors and y is the number of hours she works as a lifeguard? Alright, well, if x is the number of hours she tutors, she gets paid $12 per hour doing that. So we will have 12x plus y, the number of hours she works as a lifeguard, times how much she makes as a lifeguard per hour, which it says is $9.50, so plus 9.5 y. Now we just have to find which set of equations matches ours, right? So we have x plus y is less than 20, less than or equal to 20. Well, A says that x plus y is greater than or equal to 20, which is wrong. B says that x plus y is less than or equal to 20, which works. And C says x plus y is less than or equal to 20, which works. D says that x plus y is greater than or equal to 20, so D is out. Now we look at which first equation matches ours, right? So let's look at B. Well, B says 12x plus 9.5y must be less than 220. But we see in our equation, we have that it must be greater than 220. So we can go ahead and get rid of B, and we'll know that C is our answer. Question 8. In air, the speed of sound s in meters per second is a linear function of air temperature T in degrees Celsius, and is given by s of T equals 0.6 T plus 331.4. Which of the following statements is the best interpretation of the number 331.4 in this context? Well, if we think about it, our 331.4 is going to be our speed of sound in meters per second when T equals 0, right? So when the temp is 0 degrees Celsius is when our speed of sound will equal 331.4. So now let's go ahead and read through our answers. Answer choice A. The speed of sound in meters per second at 0 degrees Celsius. Yes, right? Because at 0 degrees Celsius, we would have 0.6 times 0, which will be 0, and we'll be left with 331.4 equals our speed of sound. So the answer is A. Question 9. If xy is a solution of the system of equations above, and x is greater than 0, which just means x is positive, what is the value of x times y, right? So we want to make sure we pay attention to our end question here. We're not asked for x or y or their coordinates. We're asked for x times y. So we'll first find the coordinates, then we have to remember to multiply them. Alright, so we're given that y equals x squared, so we can go ahead and plug that in to our equation for y. So we're going to have 2x squared plus 6 equals 2 times x plus 3. Well, 2 times x gives us 2x, and then 2 times plus 3 gives us plus 6. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to get all our x's on one side of our equation. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 6 from each side. And the 6's will cancel on each side. So now we're going to have to subtract 2x from each side, so we can get all of our x's on one side. So we have 2x squared minus 2x equals 0. Well, now I'm looking here, and I see I can factor out 2x, right? So I'll be left with, because we have negative 2x and 2x squared, which each have 2x, so I can have 2x times x, right? Or 2x times x minus 1. Alright, now all I got to do is set that equal to 0, right? So now I have x minus 1 equals 0, and we know that x minus 1 equals 0. we add 1 to each side, and we get that x equals 1. Okay, well now if we know that x equals 1, we can go ahead and we can plug 1 into our equation up top. So we have y equals x squared. We know our x is 1. 1 squared is 1, so we know y equals 1. We know x equals 1. We're asked for x times y. 1 times 1 equals 1. So our answer is A. Question 10. If a squared plus b squared equals z and a times b equals y, which of the following is equivalent to 4z plus 8y? Well, we're given our z in this equation, and we're given what our y equals in this equation. So we're going to go ahead and plug those equations in so we can find which equation of our answer choices is equivalent. So we have 4 times z, and we're told that z is a squared plus b squared. And then we have that plus 8 times y, and we're told that y is ab, so we have plus 8b. 8 plus 8ab. Now we multiply our 4 by our a squared, and we multiply our 4 by our b squared. We're left with 4a squared plus 4b squared plus 8ab. We can go ahead and rewrite that as 4a squared plus 8ab plus 4b squared. And what we see from doing that is we see that we have a pattern here, right? We have an a plus b squared pattern, right? If we write that out, a plus b squared is going to give us a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Right, so when we see our equation right here, now we're looking for the pattern it fits in, right? So 4a squared, well, if we have 4 as our coefficient next to our a squared, and we know that our 4 is getting squared, well then we know we need to do the square root of 4 to find our a, right? We know square root of 4 is 2, right? And if we were to square root our a squared, because we know that that gets squared according to this equation, right? We would get a, right? So we'd have 2a. Now, if we go to our last term, we see that we have 4, right? So we're going to have square root of 4, so plus 2. And if we were to square root b as well, we'd have plus 2b. And if we look at our middle term, we have plus 8ab. Well, what's our a value? Our a value is 2. What's our b value? Our b value is also 2. And then 2 times 2 times our 2 here gets us 8. And we have our 2a and 2b, right? So those are ab. So 2a times 2b. It's going to get us 4b. 4b times our 2 in our equation over here gets us our 8ab. So we can go ahead and see that this equation here will be our solution. So now we just find which equation matches it, and the only equation that matches our equation is b. So b will be our correct answer. Question 11. The volume of right circular cylinder A is 22 cubic centimeters. What is the volume in cubic centimeters of a right circular cylinder with twice the radius and half the height of cylinder A? Well, we know our 22 cubic centimeter volume of right circular cylinder A is equal to pi times r squared times our height, because that is the equation for volume of a right circular cylinder. So we're going to use the factor of change method to find out how many times bigger or smaller our new right circular cylinder is than our old one, right? So what we're going to do is for every variable that stays the same, we put in a 1. So our pi will stay the same, so we put in a 1. Our radius squared, well, our radius is now twice our former radius, so it's going to be 2 squared. And then we're going to have that times our height, which it says is half the height of cylinder A. So we're going to have that times h, which stays the same, so we call h1 over our 2, because it's half the height. So now we go ahead and we solve for this, and this will tell us how many times bigger or how many times smaller the new right circular cylinder is in volume. So 1 times 2 squared, we know 2 squared is 4, and then 4 times 1/2 leaves us with 4 over 2. So we're going to have 2 times bigger, right? So we're going to be 2 times bigger than our 22 centimeter cubed volume. So we're going to go 2 times 22 cubic centimeters, which will give us 44 cubic centimeters. So our answer will be C. Question 12. Which of the following is equivalent to 9 to the power of 3/4? Well, we know 9 equals 3 squared. So now we're going to have 3 squared times 3 over 4 in our exponent, right? So to solve this, what you're going to do is you're going to do 3, and then for your exponents, you're going to have 2 over 1 times 3 over 4. And then you just solve that like you would normally with fractions, right? So you're going to be left with 3 to the power of 2 times 3, which is 6, over 4 times 1, which is 4. So 3 to the power of 6 divided by 4, which can be simplified down to 3 to the power of 3 over 2. Now when you have a base to the power of a fraction, your denominator is going to be what root you are, right? So in this case, our denominator is 2, so we're going to have the square root of 3 to the power of 3, because your numerator is what goes in our root box, right? So you're going to have the second root of 3 squared. Well, we know that with the second root of 3 to the power of 3. Well, we know that 3 to the power of 3 can be rewritten as 3 times 3 times 3. We take out 2 because that's what our root is, right? Our root's 2. So any groups of 2 we can take out. So we can go ahead and take out a 3, and we'll have 3 root 3 because we still have this 3 left. So we'll be left with 3 root 3, and that will be our answer, which is D. Question 13. At a restaurant, n cups of tea are made by adding tea bags to hot water. If t equals n plus 2, how many additional tea bags are needed to make each additional cup of coffee? Well, if we need one more cup of coffee, which is represented by n, we will have to increase t by 1, right? Because 2, we can think about this as our y-intercept, right? If our y-intercept's 2, we just have y equals x, right? So one more t, if we wanted one more bag of, or one more cup of tea, we need one more bag, right? Because it's just y equals x is how we can view it. So we know our answer will be B1. Question 14. The function f is defined by the equation above. Which of the following is the graph of y equals negative f of x in the xy plane? Well, we know y equals negative f of x. We're told f of x is equal to 2 to the power of x plus 1. So we will have negative 2 to the power of x plus 1. We distribute this negative 1 here, and we get negative 1 times 2 to the power of x. That will be negative 2 to the power of x, and negative 1 times 1 just gets us negative 1. So we have y equals negative 2 to the power of x minus 1. Now we just find which equation, or which graph shows our equation, right? Well, if we know we have negative 2 to the power of x, any number to the power of x, so say 2 to the power of x, if x is negative, so on the left side of our y-axis, if x is negative, that just means 1 over 2 to whatever the absolute value of x is, right? So we know that this right here, this 2 to the x, can't ever change signs, right? So 2 to the x, it will always be positive, right? It can't go negative, but we know that it is, in this case, multiplied by negative 1. So it will always be negative, right? It will never switch. So we'll always have this value, our negative 2x, being negative, and then we always have that minus 1, right, as shown above right here. So we know our answer will always be negative. So any answer that goes positive can go ahead and be eliminated. And now we are just left with C. Question 15. Alan drives an average of 100 miles each week. His car can travel an average of 25 miles per gallon of gasoline. Alan would like to reduce his weekly expenditure on gasoline by $5. Assuming gasoline costs $4 per gallon, which equation can Alan use to determine how many fewer miles he should drive each week? Well, he wants to save $5. In order to save $5, how much fewer miles does he have to drive? Well, his car gets 25 miles to the gallon. So if he drives, we'll say M is 25, right? If he drives 25 miles less, then he's going to save $4, right? Which means that this will get multiplied by $4, because 25 over 25 will be 1. 1 times 4, he's going to save $4 if he decreases his amount of miles driven by 25, right? So we're left with 4m over 25 equals 5. So 5 equals 4m over 25. We find which equation matches ours. We see that equation D matches ours. So our answer is D. Question 16. Maria plans to rent a boat. The boat rental costs $60 per hour, and she will also have to pay for a water safety course that costs $10. Alright, so that's our equation right there. $60 per hour H plus $10 for the boat safety course. Maria wants to spend no more than $280. Alright, so we can get rid of our Y because we know that she wants to spend no more than $280. So $280 must be greater than or equal to $60H plus 10. If the boat rental is available only for a whole number of hours, what is the maximum number of hours for which Maria can rent the boat? So we just go ahead, we subtract 10 from each side so we can isolate H. 280 minus 10 gives us 270. Now we divide each side by 60 so we get H alone. And now we have H must be less than or equal to 270 over 60. 270 over 60 we can just think of as how many times can 6 go into 27, and since we actually know that it has to be a whole number, we really don't even have to do long division. We can really just say what's the most amount of times 6 can go into 27. We know that that's 4 because 6 times 4 gives us 24, but if we did 6 times 5 that would be 30. So we know that the most times 60 can go into 270 will also be 4. So our answer will be 4. What value of P is the solution of the equation above? Alright, here all that we're going to do is we're just going to have to multiply our 2 by our P and 1, multiply our 8 by our P minus 1, get all our P's on one side, and solve for our answer, right? So 2 times P gives us P, plus 1 times 2, which is plus 2, plus 8 times P, so plus 8P, and then plus 8 times negative 1, which means plus negative 8, so just minus 8, and that equals 5P. Well, we can go ahead and do our 2P plus our 5P. That's going to give us 10P. We'll do our 2 minus our 8 minus 6, and that will equal 5P. Go ahead and we will subtract 5P from this side so we keep P positive. Subtract 5P from our other side. 10P minus 5P gets us 5P. We add 6 to each side, and we get 5P equals 6. We divide each side by 5 to isolate P, and we get P equals 6 over fifths. We make sure that that's what the question is asking because we always want to answer what the question is asking. It's asking for the value of P. So our answer is going to be 6 over 5 or 1.2. Question 18. The system of equations above has solution xy. What is the value of x? Alright, well to solve for x we can go ahead and substitute in our equation here, our y equals 2x for our y right here. So we're going to have 1/2 2x plus 2x because y equals 2x equals 21 over 2. Now we can go ahead and see 2x plus 2x, that's 4x. 4x times 1/2 is the same as 4x over 2. And we know that 4x over 2 is going to give us 2x. So we'll have 2x equals 21 over 2. We'll divide each side by 2 to isolate x, right? And we know dividing 21 over 2 by 2, we just multiply by 2 in our denominator to get 21 over 4 equals x. So our answer will be 21 over 4. Question 19. The expression above is equivalent to a divided by x plus 2 squared, where a is a positive constant and x cannot equal negative 2. What is the value of a? Okay, well I see I have x plus 2 squared in my denominator here, and I know that since I'm subtracting fractions, anytime I'm adding or subtracting fractions, I need a common denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this side by x plus 2 as well. Now all I got to do, since I have a common denominator, is subtract these, right? So I'll have 2x plus 6 minus my 2 times my x, and then my 2 times my plus 2. So minus 2 times my x, which is minus 2x, and then minus 2 times 2, which is 4, so minus 4. So now I'll be left with my 2x minus 2x canceling out and ending with 0x, and then my 6 minus 4 giving me 2. So I'm left with 2 over x plus 2 squared. I'm asked for my a value only, so my answer will be 2. Question 20. Intersecting lines at R, S, and T are shown below. What is the value of x? Alright, well I see I've got 106 on line S here. I know that this equals 180, so my angle here is going to equal 180 minus 106, which will give me 74. Now I know all my angles in this triangle here add to 180, So I'm going to do 180 minus 23 minus 74. I know minus 23 and minus 74 become minus 97. So I've got 180 minus 97, which equals 103. So that means my angle here will be 103. I know this right here is going to be, I'm sorry, I don't want to write that so it looks like that's the answer for x. So I know my line right here, this angle will be a total of 180 because it's on a line. So now I just do my 180 minus my 103 degrees equals x. Doing that, 180 minus 103, I get 97 equals x. So I know my answer here will be 97. Thank you for watching Preeminent Test Prep. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share as we will be releasing more videos to help you prepare for the SAT.